Welcome to today's collective worship. Today we're staying in the same book of the Bible as last week's journey through God's big story. Can anyone remember what the book was called? The Book of Judges. The Book of Judges is not about judges as we know them today. The judges were a group of leaders who rescued God's people. Today we're going to hear about another leader, Samson. Samson was the last of the judges. We're going to hear 3 parts to Samson's story today. The first about Samson's great deeds, next about Samson and Delilah, and then Samson and the Philistines. Samson's great deeds. Samson was a strong man, but he wasn't strong because he lifted weights, and he wasn't strong because he did lots of press-ups, and he wasn't strong because he had big muscles. No, Samson was strong because his mother had promised God that her son would never drink strong wine, that he would never, ever drink strong beer, and that he would never, ever, ever cut his hair. And when he grew up, Samson had promised that too. Samson was strong because of God. So one day, God asked Samson to do a strong thing. "The Philistines are hurting my people," God said, "so I want you to protect them." And that's what Samson did. He roamed the land like a one-man army, causing trouble for the Philistines wherever he found them. He caught 300 foxes, tied their tails together in pairs, and jammed a fiery torch between the tails. Then he sent them running through the Philistines' fields to burn down all their crops. And his hair just kept on growing. He was captured once, but he burst the ropes around him as if they were string. Then he took the jawbone of a dead donkey and used it to kill 1,000 Philistine soldiers. "With a donkey's jawbone," he boasted, "I have made donkeys out of them." And his hair just kept on growing. And when the Philistines thought they had him surrounded in the city of Gaza, he tore the enormous doors off the city gates and escaped, carrying them to the top of the hill. And his hair just kept on growing. For 20 years, Samson protected God's people, protected them with his mighty deeds, protected them with the strength God gave him, and his hair just kept on growing. And there he is, look, in the picture. Samson and Delilah. The Philistines were tired of Samson beating them all the time, so they went to talk to Samson's girlfriend, Delilah. "If you can find the secret to his strength," they said, "we will give you a great big pile of silver." Delilah liked silver. She liked it even better than she liked Samson. So she did what they asked. "Samson, oh Samson," Delilah cooed, "please tell me the secret of your strength." Now Samson liked Delilah a lot, but he wasn't stupid, so he decided to play a little trick on her. "Tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings," he lied, "and I will be as weak as any man." So Delilah hid some men in the next room. She tied up Samson with 7 fresh bowstrings. Then she cried, "Samson, oh Samson, the Philistines are coming." The Philistines burst through the door. Samson burst the bowstrings. Then he chased them all away. And his hair just kept on growing. "Samson, oh Samson," Delilah pouted, "you lied to me. Tell me, please, the true secret of your strength." Samson liked this game, so he told her another lie. "Tie me up with new ropes, and I will be as weak as any man." So once again, Delilah hid some men in the next room. She tied up Samson with new ropes, and then she cried, "Samson, oh Samson, the Philistines are coming." The Philistines burst through the door. Samson burst the ropes as if they were threads. Then he chased them all away, and his hair just kept on growing. "Samson, oh Samson," Delilah whined, "you lied to me again. Please tell me the secret of your strength." Samson grinned. "All right then," he said, "but it was just another lie. Take the 7 braids of my hair and weave them into cloth on your loom, and I will be as weak as any man." So Delilah hid more men in the next room. She wove Samson's 7 long braids into the cloth on her loom, and then she cried, "Samson, oh Samson, the Philistines are coming." The Philistines burst through the door. Samson burst to his feet, loom, cloth and all. Then he chased them all away, and his hair just kept on growing. "Samson, oh Samson," wept Delilah, "you don't love me at all. You lied to me again. Please, please, please tell me the secret of your strength." And she nagged him day after day after day. Maybe it was the nagging. Maybe it was the tears. Maybe Samson truly loved Delilah, or maybe Samson just forgot where his strength really came from. Maybe he thought it was all down to him, and not the God he'd made his promise to, whatever the reason. Samson finally told Delilah the truth. "I made a promise once," he said, "that a razor would never touch my head. If you cut my hair, I will be as weak as any man." So once again Delilah hid some men in the next room, and when Samson fell asleep, she told one of the men to cut off his 7 long braids. "Samson, oh Samson," she cried, "the Philistines are coming." Samson woke. "I'll chase them away, just like before," he boasted. But when the Philistines burst through the door, Samson could do nothing. He really was as weak as any man. And this time the Philistines carried him off to prison. Samson and the Philistines. When the Philistines captured Samson, they poked out his eyes, bound him with strong ropes, and threw him in a prison cell. They chained him to a great stone wheel, and day after day he pushed the wheel to grind their corn. They thought they had beaten him for good, but Samson's hair began to grow again, and week by week, month by month, his hair just kept on growing. Some time later, the Philistines decided to have a big party to celebrate Samson's capture and to thank their god, Dagon, for delivering him into their hands. What they didn't count on was the one true God, the God who had given Samson his strength and who still wanted to use him to protect his people. There were more than 3,000 Philistines gathered in the temple on that day. The place was packed, and in the middle of the celebration the rulers had Samson dragged before them. The people laughed and clapped when they saw him. "Our God has beaten our enemy," they cheered, "the one who caused us so much trouble." And when they were done laughing, Samson was dragged to stand near the pillar of the temple. But Samson had one more idea, one last clever plan to defeat his enemies. "You know I'm blind," said Samson to the man who guarded him. "Put me where I can feel the pillars, please, so I can lean against them." So that's what the servant did. He stood Samson between the pillars that supported the whole temple. "Dear Lord," prayed Samson, "the only strength I ever had came from you. I remember that now. So I ask that you remember me and give me that strength just one more time." And with his left hand on one pillar and his right hand on another, he began to push. He pushed and the pillars creaked. He pushed and the pillars cracked. He pushed and the pillars crumbled. He pushed and the pillars collapsed. And when they did, the whole of the temple came crashing down with them. It crashed down on the Philistines. It crashed down on their rulers. And sadly, it crashed down on Samson too. "Let me die with the Philistines," Samson cried to heaven. And so he did, killing many more with his death than he had ever done in his life, and doing what God had asked him to, protecting his people from their enemy. I wonder what this story teaches us about trust and strength. It is hard to trust in things sometimes. It's hard to have inner strength to believe. We all sometimes worry about things, and worries can make us sad. They can weigh us down. At the moment, unfortunately, lots of us have lots of worries because everything is so different and strange at the moment. Maybe you could ask God to give you strength at the moment and courage to talk to other people about your worries if you need to. Sometimes our worries do feel very big and heavy, but when they do, it's good to talk to a trusted adult about them, and it can help just by talking about our worries to help lift them. Let's finish now our worship with a prayer. Dear God, thank you for the story of Samson. Help us to be strong to do what is right when we are worried. Give us the strength and courage to ask for help. Help us to be brave, to stand against what is wrong, and kind to those who need our help. Amen.